Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Today is June 18th, 2020, and it is the 96th day of the semi-quarantine. And I'd like to talk today about my qualifications for talking to you. Of course, you might want to know that. And I'd like to start with Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. Thus says the Lord, stand by the roads and look, and ask for the ancient paths, where the good way is, and walk in it, and find rest for your souls. So here's qualification number one, is I follow the ancient paths. And by that I mean I participate in the life of the church, and I serve and I worship. I belong to the people of God, for as we've talked about with recently with Martin Lloyd-Jones, there is no plan B with regards to having fellowship. I also belong to the person of God, and I also belong to his Bible, to the Bible. I believe it inspired, authoritative, and inerrant. Read it a few times, haven't found an error yet. Belong to his local church. And I have a very high view of God. I have a high view of these ancient paths that we are to be traveling. One thing I think you will appreciate in spending some time with me, as you be with me and as I be with the Lord, is I am aiming for awe at the end of the day. I'd also like to share a story. A number of years ago, I had heard the commonly given advice, hey, you should read through the Bible in a year. And after not doing that for a number of years, I felt guilty, which is always fun. And so finally I sort of pulled myself up by the bootstraps and committed myself to starting to read the Bible. I think I started in, page 1 in Genesis. I didn't do a chronological. And what I soon found was that the Bible was alive and the Bible was speaking, and that going through the Bible in a year, which is about 3 chapters a day, was infinitely too fast for at least a devotional read, for a read where one considers and thinks and is grieved, because there was just too much to think and grieve and wonder and search about. And so it took me, I slowed down. I read as much as I could in the time that I had, and in the way that the Lord showed me himself. And sometimes things just take a while, as you've seen, and as we go down these little rabbit trails of exploration, which are sometimes the most valuable. So I realized that the purpose of reading the Bible was not to get through the Bible, but the purpose was to get the Bible through me. And that took considerably longer. So the first time I read the Bible in this new way, in a way of consideration and in a way of pausing when necessary and listening and interacting with the Lord, it took me 4 years to read through the Bible, quote, in a year, unquote. So the goal was not to master the Bible, but to be mastered by it, and that process took quite a bit longer. So one of the things I think I bring to the table is a sense of inquisitive study. Oh, just one more thing. When I read the Bible a second time, it took even longer the second time. because the pauses were longer, the considerations were deeper, and probably the knowledge of cross references and the tennis match of the Old Testament, New Testament was a little bit more known to me. So when the ball bounced back to the Old Testament, I would stay there for a while, and when the ball bounced back to the New Testament, I would study that a little bit harder. So you have a person who seeks to be mastered by the Bible, not to master the Bible, but just sort of get that if you're ready to be mastered by it, you spend some time and you get ability to seek out some answers, and you keep asking good questions. So I think that's one of the qualifications I have, is just the gift, if you will, of inquisitive study. And then likely I have some gifts about teaching. And I always say that being a good teacher is knowing what to steal. So if I find something in the Bible or in a book I'm reading or an experience that I have, I certainly steal that and send it your way. So those are at least a start of my qualifications. There's nothing new under the sun here. I still stand by the road, as it says in Jeremiah. I stand by the road and look and ask for the ancient paths. So I'm doing what men and women of history have done as soon as they got hold of the Bible, where the good way is, and walk in it and find rest for my soul. And I am privileged to share these qualifications and this ancient path with you. It has blessed me in the sense that I have found rest for my soul, and I pray that you find rest for your soul as well.